The last thing Mark ever told me as a friend was, trust no one. I laughed. God, I laughed. But looking back, that wasn't advice. It was his confession. I used to think I had it figured out. At 29, I wasn't rich, but I was steady. My job as an accountant gave me routine security. I lived in a small but comfortable apartment in the city, close enough to the office but far enough that I didn't hear the constant sirens. My girlfriend, Emily, had been with me for almost 2 years, and if you asked me then, I'd have sworn she was the one. And Mark, well, Mark had been there since high school. He was the loud one, the reckless one, the guy who'd talk us into doing shots when we had work in the morning, or who'd fight a bouncer twice his size because respect matters. But beneath it, I trusted him. More than anyone. He'd been my brother in everything but blood. So yeah, my world was built on trust. Trust in my work. Trust in Emily. Trust in Mark. And for a long time, that trust felt unshakable. One Friday night, Mark and I sat in my living room, beers scattered across the coffee table, a game playing quietly on the TV that neither of us was really watching. He was on his 4th or 5th, leaning heavily against the couch cushion, eyes glassy. Out of nowhere, he said it. Trust no one. His voice wasn't slurred. It was sharp, almost too sharp for how drunk he looked. He stared at me, unblinking. I laughed, because what else do you do when your best friend drops a movie line cliché in the middle of a quiet night? All right, philosopher. I chuckled, clinking my bottle against his. Been watching too much late-night crime TV again? He didn't smile, just took another sip and muttered, I'm serious, Danny. You trust too easily. One day it'll gut you. I brushed it off. That was Mark. Dramatic, cynical, always convinced everyone had an angle. I'd learned not to take it seriously. Besides, he was drunk. And Mark, drunk, was like Mark sober, only more intense. I never thought twice about it. But maybe I should have. It was subtle at first. Emily's phone habits shifted. Where she used to leave it face up on the table, she started flipping its screen down. She'd smile when I walked into the room, but her thumb would flick fast, closing out of something before I could see. She chalked it up to work stress, late nights at the firm, and clients who never slept. I believed her. I told myself it was nothing. Everyone's allowed privacy. Then came the brush-offs. Sorry, babe, can't talk right now. It's been a long day. Don't wait up. I might be late. It wasn't that she sounded angry, just distracted, like she was somewhere else, even when she was sitting right across from me. I felt it gnawing at me, but every time the thought crept in, I shoved it back down. I'd always prided myself on not being the jealous type. Trust was supposed to mean something, right? And then Mark threw gasoline on the fire. We were out one night grabbing burgers after a late movie. He leaned over the table, lowered his voice like we were kids swapping secrets. She's lying to you, Danny. The words froze me mid-bite. What are you talking about? He glanced around, then leaned closer. I saw her, a couple of nights ago. She wasn't at work. She was at this bar across town, with some guy I didn't recognize. Real cozy, laughing, touching his arm. Looked bad. I laughed, but it came out shaky. You're drunk. I was sober, he said flatly. And I know what I saw. It was like someone cracked my chest open with a crowbar. I wanted to argue, to call him a liar, but my mind went straight to Emily flipping her phone. Late nights at work, that distant look in her eyes. The pieces fit too easily, and that terrified me. When I asked why he didn't say anything sooner, he just shook his head. Because I thought you'd laugh it off, same as always. You trust her too much. You don't see what's right in front of you. I sat there staring at him, my pulse hammering in my ears. Mark, my best friend, was telling me my girlfriend was cheating. Emily, my girlfriend, was acting like she had something to hide. The two people I trusted most had suddenly become shadows I couldn't read. That night, lying next to Emily, I stared at the ceiling long after she fell asleep. Her breathing was soft, steady, like nothing was wrong. But my chest was tight. Every time my phone buzzed with a work email, I wondered if hers was buzzing too, with messages I wasn't supposed to see. Every laugh she gave me, I wondered if it was the same laugh she gave this mystery man. And Mark's voice wouldn't leave my head. Trust no one. For the first time in my life, those words didn't sound paranoid. They sounded like the beginning of the truth. I wanted to believe Emily. I wanted to believe Mark. But the two beliefs couldn't exist together. One of them was lying. Maybe both. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that no matter which one it was, I was standing on a fault line that was about to split wide open. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, the trust that had built my world for 29 years felt cracked, like glass under too much weight, and I couldn't shake the sick, gnawing certainty that I was about to watch it shatter. I couldn't shake the picture Mark painted. Emily is with some mystery man outside a bar, nervous, not wanting to be seen. His voice kept circling back. Trust no one. It wormed into my thoughts during work, during meals, even when Emily kissed me goodnight. So one evening, when she grabbed her bag and said she had to swing by the office, I didn't stay home. I waited a few minutes, then slipped out and followed her. The streets were wet from a late rain, neon lights shimmering in the puddles. I stayed half a block behind, keeping my hood up, trying not to look like the guy following his girlfriend through the city. She walked quickly, purposefully, but not toward her office. She veered right down King Street. My stomach dropped. That was where Mark had said he saw her. Emily slowed near a bar I recognized. Dim lights, the smell of fried food spilling onto the sidewalk. And there he was, not some stranger, not some tall, unrecognizable man. Mark. They didn't kiss. They didn't hold hands. But it was the way she smiled at him, the way her hand brushed his arm and lingered just long enough. It hit harder than if they'd been locked in a kiss. They leaned in close, speaking low, her laugh sharper, his grin wider. I felt it like a steel rod through my chest. I couldn't make myself step closer. I stood in the shadows, fists clenched, watching my girlfriend and my best friend share something I couldn't name. My breath fogged in the cold air, but my insides burned. By the time Emily got home, I'd already convinced myself not to explode. I sat on the couch pretending to read, heart hammering like a gun against my ribs. She walked in, cheeks flushed, hair damp from the mist outside. "Hey," she said brightly, dropping her bag. "Sorry, I'm late. Work was insane." Her tone was too light, like she'd rehearsed it. I looked up, forced my voice even. "Really? Because I saw you." The blood drained from her face so fast I thought she'd faint. She froze, then tried to recover with a nervous laugh. "Saw me? What do you mean?" "At the bar. With Mark." Her mouth opened, then closed again. For a second, raw guilt flashed in her eyes. Then she launched into a story, words tumbling too fast. "It's not what you think, Daniel. He was just helping me. Planning something for you. A surprise. I couldn't tell you. A surprise." It sounded ridiculous the second it left her mouth. My stomach turned. "What kind of surprise?" I asked. She hesitated a beat too long. "A trip. I was trying to plan something special for your birthday. My birthday is 3 months away." "Then why lie about work?" She blinked hard, tears springing up instantly. "Because you always worry about money. I didn't want you to stress. I just wanted to do something nice." Her voice cracked, and tears slipped down her cheeks. Fast, dramatic. Normally, that would have gutted me. Emily rarely cried, and when she did, I always folded, pulled her close. But this time it felt like theater. Every word she spoke had seams showing. "Emily," I said slowly, "you expect me to believe you and Mark, of all people, are planning some surprise behind my back?" She covered her face, shoulders shaking. "I swear to you it's nothing bad. Please don't look at me like that." Her sobs filled the room, but my gut screamed louder. Every tear, every word felt like an echo of something rehearsed. I wanted to believe her, God, I wanted to, but the image of her hand on Mark's arm, the way they leaned into each other like co-conspirators, that played on a loop in my head. When she finally calmed, she reached for me, her hands trembling. "You have to trust me." And that was the moment my chest hollowed out, because I realized I couldn't. Not anymore. I nodded anyway, whispered, "Okay," because the alternative would have torn us apart right there. But lying awake beside her that night, her body turned away from mine. I stared into the dark and felt the foundation of my life slip. Mark's warning echoed again. Trust no one. And for the first time, I wondered if he hadn't been warning me at all. Maybe he'd been telling me exactly what he was about to do. I couldn't let it sit. The picture of Emily and Mark outside that bar dug into me like a splinter under the skin. Every time Emily smiled, every time she reached for me, I saw her leaning in close to him, laughing at something only they shared. If I didn't confront Mark, I'd go insane. So I called him, told him to meet me at the diner we used to haunt after high school football games. Neutral ground. A place soaked in memories of late-night fries and dumb jokes. Back when trust was effortless. He slid into the booth across from me, smelling faintly of cologne and cigarettes, a cocky grin already plastered on his face. "You look like hell, Danny. What's going on?" I didn't waste time. "I saw you with Emily." His grin faltered for half a second, then shifted into something sharper. So, you were with my girlfriend, sneaking around behind my back." Mark leaned back, arms stretching across the booth like he owned the whole place. "Relax. It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" My voice came out tighter than I intended. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing. "She came on to me. I shut it down. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to blow up your relationship over nothing. I was trying to protect you." The words hit like ice water. He didn't deny it, didn't even look ashamed. He made it sound like he was the hero in this story. "She came on to you?" I repeated, my jaw clenched so hard it ached. Mark smirked, shrugging casually. "What can I say? Women get curious sometimes. I didn't touch her. If anything, you should be thanking me." It was the smirk that did it. The faint curl of his lips, like he was enjoying this. Like twisting me up inside was the punchline of a joke only he got. I wanted to leap across the table, shake the truth out of him, but I forced myself to stay still. My hands balled into fists under the table. When I got home that night, Emily was waiting. She'd clearly been crying, mascara smudged under her eyes. "Mark told me you accused him," she said the second I walked in. Her voice was raw, panicked. "Daniel, how could you? He's your best friend." I laughed bitterly. "My best friend? Who says you came on to him?" Her mouth dropped open, and then came the tears, fast and heavy. "That's a lie. He's twisting everything. I can't believe you'd even listen to him." She lunged forward, gripping my arm. "You're supposed to trust me. Instead, you're buying into his garbage. Do you have any idea how paranoid you sound?" That word stung, paranoid. It carried the weight of insanity, like she was diagnosing me instead of defending herself. I pulled free, pacing the living room. "Then explain the bar. Explain why you're lying about late nights at work." She crumbled onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. Between the muffled cries, she choked out, "Because I wanted to do something nice for you. You twist everything. You're suffocating me, Daniel." Her sobs filled the apartment, each one hammering against the walls of my chest. I wanted to comfort her, to believe her, but the image of her with Mark kept burning through the tears. The next week, things started to shift. Friends who usually called went silent. Group chats that normally lit up with jokes grew colder, conversations moving on without me. First, I thought it was bad timing. People were busy. Then Tom from work pulled me aside one day. "Look, I don't want to get in the middle of whatever's going on, but people are talking. They say you're controlling, that Emily can't breathe around you, that you're jealous of Mark." My throat went dry. "Who's saying that?" Tom frowned. "Does it matter? It's out there." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Emily scrolled her phone beside me. Her face lit blue by the screen. Every laugh from her, every sigh, twisted into suspicion. And every time I tried to speak, she snapped that I was imagining things, that I needed help. Paranoid, controlling, jealous. The words clung to me, whispered in every silence. And I started to wonder, was I losing it? Was I seeing ghosts where there were none? Or was this exactly what Mark wanted me to feel? Stripped of certainty, doubting myself until I didn't know up from down? Because if that was the game, he was winning. The fights with Emily came in waves. Accusation, denial, tears, silence. Then the next morning, she'd make coffee, kiss my cheek, act like nothing had happened. And I stayed, partly because I still wanted to believe her, partly because walking away felt like admitting Mark had won. If I left now, it would be like saying he'd been right from the start. Trust no one. I wasn't ready to give him that. But days later, my suspicions shifted. It wasn't about love anymore, it was about money. Started small. I was paying bills late one night, cross-checking accounts like I always did, when I noticed a withdrawal that didn't make sense. 200 here, 300 there. All legitimate transactions on the surface, but none of them mine. The numbers didn't add up. I pulled up statements for the last 6 months. The pattern was there. Tiny amounts skimmed consistently, the kind of thing you'd miss if you weren't meticulous. And I was meticulous. Counting was my life. At first, I thought maybe it was identity theft. Some stranger halfway across the world is hacking into my accounts. But the trail wasn't digital ghosts. It was paper. Real documents signed off and processed. The kind of access only someone close could have. And Emily worked at my father's old law firm. She had clearance paperwork passing through her hands every day. The realization knocked the breath out of me. I stared at the screen, trying to convince myself it wasn't possible. Emily wouldn't. She couldn't. Except, I'd already caught her lies. Already seen her with Mark. That night, while she showered, I picked up her phone. I'd never crossed that line before, but my hands moved on their own, fueled by dread. Her password wasn't hard. I'd seen it once, memorized it without meaning to. The messages were there. Dozens of them. Not hidden under a fake name, not even locked in some encrypted app. Just sitting in plain sight, like they were daring me to look. Mark got another transfer through. He didn't notice. Emily told you. He never checks. He trusts too much. Mark, you're a genius. We'll bleed him slow. He won't feel it until it's done. Emily. And when he finally figures it out, he'll look insane. Everyone already thinks he's paranoid. I kept scrolling, my hands trembling. Between their talk of siphoning money were other messages. Casual, intimate, sickening. Jokes about me. Late-night plans. Promises I was never supposed to read. The phone slipped from my grip onto the bedspread. My vision tunneled. All this time, I'd thought maybe Emily was caught in Mark's orbit unwillingly, manipulated into secrecy. But this wasn't coercion. This was a partnership. The betrayal stung sharper because it wasn't about lust, not really. It was premeditated, calculated. They weren't sneaking behind my back for passion. They were exploiting me, piece by piece, using every ounce of trust one had to build a trap around me. I confronted her when she stepped out of the bathroom, hair damp, towel around her shoulders. I read your texts. She froze, then tried to laugh. What texts? The ones with Mark. My voice cracked on his name. Transfers. Jokes about me. About how much I trust you. Her face drained of color. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd come clean. Instead, she dropped onto the bed, pulling the towel tighter around herself, and whispered, "You weren't supposed to see that." The words cut deeper than any denial. She didn't say it wasn't true. Didn't even try. Just admitted it with silence. I wanted to scream, to throw the phone against the wall. Instead, I sat down across from her, numb. Why? She met my eyes, tears welling, but her voice was cold. Because Mark said you'd never fight back. And I needed someone who would actually take risks. It wasn't just betrayal, it was contempt. I didn't throw her out. Not that night. Maybe not because I still loved her, but because I couldn't bear to admit how thoroughly I'd been played. Walking away meant I'd lost to both of them. So I stayed, silent, teeth clenched, the phone hidden in my drawer. And as Emily drifted off to sleep beside me, I realized Mark had been right all along. He wasn't warning me with those words. Trust no one. He was bragging. I thought holding the proof would give me power. The texts, the transfers, the undeniable evidence. Tangible weight in my hands. For a few nights, I kept it tucked away like armor, convinced that when the time came, I'd swing it like a sword and watch Mark and Emily collapse under the truth. But proof doesn't mean much when you're drowning in lies. Because Mark didn't stop at taking my money or my girlfriend. He went for my reputation, too. It started with whispers in the family. Rachel called one evening, voice tight. "Hey, Daniel, can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said, trying to sound calm. "Mark came by," she began carefully. "He said you've been using money to keep people close, like when you helped me with rent. He made it sound like you hold it over people." I nearly dropped the phone. "What? Rachel, that's insane. You asked, I helped. That's all." She hesitated. "I know." I told him that, but he said Emily told him you do the same with her, that you keep tabs on everything she spends. He said he's worried about you. The words hollowed me out. Mark wasn't just spreading rumors. He was painting me as a manipulator, the kind of man who controlled people with his wallet. And the fact that Emily backed it up made it worse. "Rachel," I said firmly, "you know me. You know that's not true." "I do," she whispered. But he sounded so certain, like he was protecting you from yourself. My hands shook as I hung up. Protecting me. That was his favorite lie. The same excuse he used at the diner, twisting Emily's betrayal into his act of mercy. I thought it would stop there, but it spread like rot. At work, Tom pulled me aside in the break room. He lowered his voice, glancing at the door. "People are talking, man. They think you're unraveling." "Unraveling?" I asked, stunned. He shrugged helplessly. "Mark's been around. He's telling people you're paranoid, controlling, that you accused him and Emily of sleeping together, and now you're seeing things that aren't there. Honestly, some folks think you're losing it." I felt the blood drain from my face. "And you believe that?" Tom shook his head. "No, but rumors don't care if they're true. Just be careful." I barely slept that week. Everywhere I turned, I felt the eyes, the judgment, the doubt. Friends who once texted daily went quiet. My phone stayed dark. When I reached out, replies came clipped, delayed. The silence said enough. They'd heard, and they believed him. One night, unable to take it anymore, I confronted Emily. She sat on the couch scrolling her phone, calm as if she hadn't gutted me weeks earlier. I stood there, shaking, the drawer in the bedroom burning in my mind with all the proof I hadn't yet unleashed. "Why are you backing him up?" I demanded. "Backing who up?" She looked up, feigning confusion. "Mark. He's telling everyone I control people with money. And you're agreeing with him. Why?" Her face hardened, tears brimming instantly. "Because you do, Daniel. Don't you see it? You pay for everything and then you expect loyalty. You smother people with kindness until they feel trapped." I laughed bitterly. "Smother people with kindness? That's how you spin me covering your bills, helping my sister? That's control." She slammed her phone down. "You never asked if I wanted your help. You just gave it and then acted like it proved you were good. But good men don't need to prove it." Her words sliced me open. For a moment I almost believed her. Like maybe I had been blind, maybe Mark was right. But then I saw the flicker in her eyes, that same cold calculation I'd read in her texts. She was parroting his lines, letting him script the story until I couldn't tell where my truth ended and their lie began. "Emily," I whispered, "he's using you." Her lip trembled. For a second I thought I'd cracked her. Then she shook her head. "No." He opened my eyes. "He showed me how easy it is for you to fool people." The words landed like a knife. Even her betrayal wasn't hers, it was his. Mark had crawled so deep into her head, she couldn't separate her voice from his. I left the apartment that night, pacing the dark streets until dawn. My phone buzzed with a message from Rachel. Just 4 words. "I need space, Daniel." That was the breaking point. Not Emily's betrayal, not the money, not even the friends I'd lost. It was Rachel. My little sister, the one person I thought would always know me, was pulling away because Mark had poisoned her, too. I stood there on the sidewalk, phone glowing in my hand, and felt everything collapse. Mark hadn't just taken my girlfriend. He hadn't just stolen my money. He'd stripped me of the one thing I'd always believed in, my trust. My family, my friends, my identity. All of it corroded by his lies. And the cruelest part? He'd warned me. Trust no one. Not to protect me. To gloat. To plant the seed so when it sprouted, I'd realize he'd called the shot from the beginning. I went home as the sun rose, hollowed out, knowing I had lost everything that mattered. Emily was still there, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee like nothing had happened. She looked up at me, eyes red, and whispered, "You should have been smarter, Daniel. You made it too easy." The words echoed in my skull, louder than her tears, louder than my own pulse. That was the final knife twist. Not just that they betrayed me, but that, in their eyes, it was my fault for letting them. I'd lost almost everything that mattered. Emily, my friends, even Rachel's trust. But I still had one thing Mark couldn't touch. The truth. Proof. Hard evidence that every lie, every whisper, every story he'd spun was nothing but manipulation. I didn't want revenge. By then, Revenge felt like a luxury for people who weren't bleeding. What I wanted was survival. If I didn't push back, I'd be erased. Just a cautionary tale of the paranoid boyfriend who lost it. So I gathered everything. I spent nights combing through bank records, screenshots, and email trails. Every stolen transfer had a fingerprint. Every conversation left a digital shadow. And those texts between Mark and Emily, they were a goldmine. Screenshots of them laughing at me, mocking how trusting I was, planning the next siphon. The same messages that had shattered me would be the rope they'd hang themselves with. When it was ready, I asked them both to meet me. Neutral ground. A quiet conference room at the office, thanks to Tom, who slipped me the key after hours without asking too many questions. I think he wanted to believe me. Maybe he just wanted the drama. They came, though not together. Emily walked in first, arms folded tight, eyes darting nervously. Mark strolled in 10 minutes later, smirking like he already knew how this would end. I laid it out on the table. Literally. A folder thick with papers, my laptop open to the messages, the transfers, the evidence. "This is everything," I said, my voice steady in a way I didn't feel. "Every lie, every dollar you stole, every word you thought I'd never see." Emily's face crumpled instantly, her hand covering her mouth. Mark just laughed. A full, sharp laugh that echoed in the empty room. "You're desperate, Danny," he sneered, "dragging us here with your conspiracy theories and your little spreadsheets. Who do you think's going to believe this? You've already burned your credibility. Everyone thinks you're paranoid." Emily sank into a chair, shaking her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Mark, stop. He's right. It's all here." The satisfaction I thought I'd feel never came. Instead, I watched them unravel in real time. Mark doubling down, Emily cracking under the weight of her guilt. And instead of joy, I felt nothing. Just exhaustion. The next morning, I walked into the law firm with the same folder. Mr. Grant, one of the senior partners, sat across from me in his glass-walled office, flipping through the documents. His expression darkened with each page. "Daniel," he said finally, "you're aware this could bury the firm if it gets out?" "I'm not here to bury you," I told him. "I'm here because she used your name to cover her theft. She had access to your files." He pressed his lips together, then nodded. "We'll handle it internally, quietly, but she won't work here another day." And just like that, Emily's career was gone. Not because I screamed or begged, but because the truth left no room to argue. Mark, on the other hand, had no shield. Once the screenshots spread, his reputation collapsed. Friends who once laughed at his jokes deleted him overnight. The same people who whispered that I was unstable now whispered that he was a fraud. The parasite that leached off his best friend until he got caught. I should have felt vindicated watching them burn. Emily was crying in her apartment, phone buzzing with messages she didn't want to read. Mark walks into a bar only to have old friends turn their backs. The empire of lies they built around me crumbled, brick by brick. But all I felt was hollow, because the damage wasn't just theirs, it was mine. Rachel still didn't pick up my calls. My friends didn't come rushing back. Even the ones who admitted they were wrong kept their distance, like I carried a sickness they didn't want to catch. And at night, when the apartment was silent, I lay awake replaying every warning sign I'd missed. Emily's downturned phone. Mark's too serious stare when he muttered those words. Trust no one. He wasn't advising me. He was taunting me, showing me the mask slipping just enough to see what was underneath. I had survived, but the cost of survival was steep. My trust, the thing that once defined me, was gone, stripped bare. I couldn't look at a friend, a colleague, or even family without hearing his laugh echoing in my head. Mark thought he won. Then he thought he lost. The truth is, neither of us won. He got exposed, sure, but I was left carrying the wreckage. Hey, what would you have done if your best friend and girlfriend worked together to destroy your life? Do you think Daniel should have cut them off sooner? Or was it smarter to wait for proof? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more twisted betrayal stories, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.